Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So today another fairly quick video because a lot of people are about to get their first rank 5s ever thanks to Coliseum rewards, and I'm sure many of you have already decided which champion would be the best for you to rank up. However, in this video I'm going to give you my brief thoughts and opinions, and this would be more of a situation what I would do. Because obviously there are lots of personal preferences, how much you care about prestige, how little you care about prestige. For instance, I fall in the category where, I do want to take prestige into consideration, but I don't want to rank up somebody like High Evolutionary immediately just because he's the highest prestige, because we don't wail like that here. And then obviously I want the champion to be good for like the most important game modes to me. Before anything else, I will be leaving the link to this sheet in the video description, so you can see all the prestige listed for the champions currently in the game as they rank in between themselves. Note that there are quite a few of the lower prestige champions who kind of like swapped places very much so recently with the Kabam's, kind of like top-ups of prestige. However, there's still fairly significant difference because we do have, several thousands of, for instance, the top ones are 34k. And the bottom ones are 24 I don't think exists anymore, but they're going to be somewhere in the 30Ks, 32Ks maybe. So there is a fairly noticeable difference in prestige, still going to be quite a bit varied. Additionally, I recently did come across this sheet, which I will post as a community post. I don't know whether it's uploaded anywhere. One of my teammates showed it to me online, where people do have the top 50 prestige rank 5 SIG 200 list, and you can see the highlights of whether those champions can or cannot be ascended. I do not necessarily recommend basing your first rank ups on whether the champion can or cannot be ascended. But if you want to take a look at that, here you go. That said, let's kind of like go over class by class. And mutant class is the only one where I can, realistically, the way this is going to work, I'm going to tell you which one would be the champion that I end up ranking up most likely, or which I think is the best one, and then other like very, very solid, strong options that I would also consider. And in mutant class, it's the only class with like 4 champions, I think. Because we do have Onslaught. Onslaught is objectively the best choice. Very high prestige, very great amount of usability in every single game mode, long shot for content. You could even say that Onslaught's likely one of the top 3 to 5 chances for options for your first rank 5, in my opinion. So Onslaught, absolutely a solid pick. Additionally, Jean Grey, I just like her better. I don't think she's better than Onslaught. I like her better though, and I think rank 5 Jean Grey is an absolute menace. Then, besides that, I think Captain Britain makes a lot of sense too. Reasonable prestige, absolutely viable and useful defender, good for longer form content that Kabam is kind of popularizing within the Colosseums and whatnot, and also reasonably competent attacker in mid-length fights and passable in Battlegrounds too. So that makes a lot of sense, and I think rank 5 Mr. Sinister is very scary, and I wouldn't bat an eye on somebody taking that rank up choice. However, that is significantly worse in terms of prestige specifically. Then moving on to tech class, and honestly in tech class I just don't recommend a tech rank up. Now if in the near future we do get a tech rank 4 to 5 gem, I think that is the worst rank 4 to 5 gem to get, because in tech class we don't have we don't have an Onslaught or Jean Grey, we don't have a Serpent or Thanos, we don't have like Photon or Spider-Woman really. I think tech class has a ton of good champions, but none of them are like busted broken tier, and I discussed that in my champion ranking videos a couple months ago. But the base idea is, out of all of the rank 5 gems, I personally want tech 1 the least, but if that happens in the near future, I do think that Jack makes a lot of sense, because he's a high versatility champion that does answer most of the current mutant threats and could use with a bit of a damage bump. He would always do better punching down than punching up. Another choice is obviously Starkey. It's like, I think rank 5 Starkey would be absolutely filthy, but again, it's a horrible choice for prestige, so I do not recommend it too much. Cosmic class, for me personally, would be Serpent. I do think Thanos makes a little bit more sense. But both, I think, are absolute peak choices, top 5, rank 5 choices in the game as is right now. would be Serpent and Thanos. They're just forever going to be useful. They are. We know they are. Serpent is not such a defensive threat that, you know, like he used to be, but he's just good everywhere in game, really. And an absolute difference maker. And so is Thanos, really. Rank 5 Thanos, with his protections, with extra health, would also be absolutely scary. I think in spot number 3 in the Cosmo class, we do have Caroline Dean. I think she's a solid option too. I wouldn't pick her above one of those two guys, but I think she's decent. Then in Mystic class, I think Nico Minoru is like the best pick, because Nico Minoru is a dual purpose champion. She's again great for absolute great deal of things, and she's a competent defender that could benefit from extra rank with additional, you know, chip damage, with additional passive poison damage, with additional survivability, as well on attack. You know, she's generally great in her specific target matchups, and not slow, but she's not the fastest attacker outside of that. And making her punch down could make her also be, you know, more viable in her less than ideal matchups. And I think, you know, for Mystic class, that's basically a no-brainer. Second best pick, I think, and the quote-unquote most future-proof pick is Pavitr, because again, he does have a top 10 prestige. He for sure will be able to be ascended in the future, and he's also a solid pick. But I'd still pick Nico over him. But yeah, Pavitr is a very, very decent pick up for sure. Science class, I think Photon currently is the remain. After they changed Spider-Woman, I do think Spider-Woman right now has slid down to spot number 2. I think Spider-Woman was a top 5 champion in the game. I don't think she is anymore. And I do think Photon is currently better, all things considered. But I do think Spider-Woman is still a very legitimate champion. I don't think any other science champion has really kind of like overtaken her. So I can see absolutely both of these being ranked. Photon does have slightly higher prestige. And in both of the cases, just about always, these champions will end up being useful. Spider-Woman, obviously, primarily for defense and some offensive capability. And then Spider-Woman, primarily for attack and now some defensive capability. Overall, I still, right now, would prefer Photon in the science class. And final one, skill, is kind of a no-brainer. I think Okoye fits the best. She's reasonably good prestige and absolute, you know, the best skill champion, in my opinion, in the game. I think Okoye makes a ton of sense. And I do think Nick Fury also is a reasonably good pick. But I'd personally be picking up Okoye. As I said, obviously there are a ton of different options. And this is going to be the final disclaimer here. This is a game, rank up who you want. These are just kind of like my thoughts and the way I view the classes. These are the champions that I consider. You might care about completely different things. You might have some other favorite options. And all of that is perfectly fine. It's just, again, the way I view the world. But I did absolutely want to remind people not to necessarily rely on which champions can and cannot be ascended. I think that will only really matter like 8-9 months down the line. I don't think this, you know, ascension thing is going to make significant deal of difference within the first half a year of being launched, and it hasn't launched yet. I think, again, it's something that we will have to consider and adjust for in the future. But I think, you know, taking, I don't know, Arcade to rank 5 just because he can be ascended is silly. I don't think it's a great idea at all. I think if you really want to, and if you like, you know, Kindred or Destroyer, that's an extra reason to rank them. That is fair if that is what you had decided. And again, you're absolutely free to do what you please. But yeah, even though I like some of these champions, I just don't think that is all be all for deciding your initial rank 5s. I think it will matter soon enough. And I think it could be, you know, deciding factor a year down the line. I don't think it's going to be just that right now. But that's it for now. Hope you guys found this video useful, and I'm going to catch you guys soon. Bye-bye. Hello there, guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have already